Is 500,000 turbo good enough for me? Now, I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but I just don't see why that's a bad amount because even though nothing I say is financial advice, the way to take a look at it is that if, let's say, hypothetically, Toshi were to go to the price of 50 cents, at that point, 500,000 Toshi would be worth $250,000. Now, some people may be thinking that, okay, take a look at the prices of homes. As of right now, homes are very expensive, people would say, arguably, and they say, hey, $250,000. What could you really do with that? Now, again, I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but the way to take a look at it is that why is that, first of all, a bad figure? Many people that I know that hold Turbo, they're not just only holding this, right? Many of them are holding other projects. So if, let's say, hypothetically, let's say in a make-believe scenario, I'm just going to make this up, right? I'd say an individual is holding 500,000 Turbo and there's other projects in their portfolio. And let's say in theory or hypothetically, Turbo were to go to the price of 50 cents and that 500,000 turbo becomes $250,000, I just don't see why that would be a figure that people would consider bad. Now, that's just my mentality. Not only hypothetically for me, that would be a pretty good down payment for a pretty good home, I would say. However, even besides that, we have to take a look at how some people that I know out there with less than $50,000, they were able to travel the world for years. Now, they're not staying at five-star hotels and eating fancy restaurants every day. Now, they weren't doing that. But then still, they were able to travel the world, gain experiences, meet new people. So the way to take a look at it is that sometimes people seem to think, oh, if it's not $1 million, $2 million, well, I'm totally aware of why some people may think that way. But really, this figure doesn't seem too bad, at least in my opinion. Now, I'll say this as well when it comes to Turbo. The special thing about it is the fact that it's a meme coin created by AI. And I think this right here is going to be a big narrative as to what could hypothetically allow for it to reach the price of 50 cents during this sport. Now, before I get into why, keep in mind, 50 cents isn't even all that ridiculous. If it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $34.5 billion. Keep in mind, that's nearly a 300x from here. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, that's a little bit crazy. Well, here's the way to take a look at it. First of all, that market cap doesn't seem that crazy because we've seen, Dogecoin reach over $80 billion in market cap years ago back in 2021, a time where during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. But now you fast forward to today, there's over 600 million crypto owners according to Crypto.com research. So I just don't see why this is too crazy. However, some people seem to think that, okay, yeah, this is a little bit too much. Okay, let's say, Turbo is going to go to the price of 25 cents. Now, that's still, over a 100x from here. So again, when people seem to think that, okay, 50 cents is too much, 25 cents, all this type of stuff. Well, even at 25 cents, I mean, that's still hypothetically very impressive for me, even at 10 cents or 5 cents. I mean, this is how amazing the way you take a look at it, Turbo is, because again, if you take a look at Turbo at the price of even 5 cents, that's nearly a 30x from here, which is kind of crazy to think about, actually. But even besides that point, when I take a look at something like Turbo, this is a no-brainer for me because I believe that naturally people, they're going to like meme coins. Again, at least hypothetically in a massive way. At least in theory, people usually do. We take a look at how people, of course, they love the serious projects like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. We all know that, right? But then sometimes people, they want some fun. They want some excitement. And that is where sometimes they focus on meme coins. I'm not necessarily saying they're only just going to focus on Turbo. Of course, we've seen historically Dogecoin, Shiba Inu do well. Of course, we've also seen some of the quote-unquote new players like a Pepe, like a Book of Meme, historically perform really good as well. So I'm not necessarily saying that, hey, people are only going to believe in Turbo. But I think Turbo, the unique selling point about it is, again, it's the fact that it's a meme coin created by AI. And people naturally, I think during a fully fledged bull run, they're going to like AI again. I think they're going to like meme coins again. And I think this is kind of a best of both worlds type of scenario. It doesn't mean that Turbo has fantastic A+ AI capabilities like a BitTensor or like an AOS or like an artificial superintelligence alliance. I'm not saying that, right? Those are highly specialized projects for AI. This is not the case in my opinion. It's just more so kind of like, a marketing gimmick, I would say. This is just my interpretation though. But again, Turbo isn't something like that, right? But then what it is that it's fun. It has the aspect of kind of AI a little bit because, again, it's a meme coin created by AI, even though it doesn't necessarily have these AI capabilities, but I'm just saying this is just the way to take a look at it. It's a good concept. It's fun. It's interesting. And it's just different from Shiba, and Dogecoin. And I think very well Turbo could have this established place in this space once the run is over, because we saw that with Dogecoin and Shiba Inu, because back in 2021, some people would argue that, hey, once the run is over, Dogecoin and Shiba Inu, they don't have enough substance, they don't have enough fundamentals to be around for the next cycle. But again, take a look at Dogecoin and Shiba Inu years later. They're still performing really very good in the grand scheme of things. Despite the pullback, they're still one of the biggest projects of all time. So I don't think that when it comes to meme coins, they're just going to be these projects that are, at least in some cases, right, here today and gone tomorrow. It just doesn't feel like that when it comes to Turbo, to me at least. I think it's going to be run for multiple cycles. I think it's going to be run for the long haul because it's so unique, it's so interesting. And I think that after this run is over, it's going to be one of these established players. Now, it's just a waiting game, really, for me at this point, because usually altcoins, as worst case scenario, historically speaking, they've been known to peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. Which is why, again, I'm still staying patient. Now I get it, the market isn't doing the best. We take a look at what's going on with the economy. I'm totally aware of that. But the way you take a look at it is that with over 600 million crypto owners, again, according to Crypto.com research, I highly doubt that the bull run's going to be bad, really. I think people are going to get over this FUD and short-term fear because people usually get over these quote-unquote bad markets. The way I take a look at it is that eventually it's going to pass, because take a look at back then, right? A lot of people panic selling Bitcoin because Terra Luna was crashing. It's like, okay, I could get why they did that, because they felt like the market was going to go down lower, so then they didn't want their Bitcoin holdings to go down. But on a fundamental level, it didn't really make sense to me because nothing bad happened to Bitcoin, right? Terra Luna crashing, that's Terra Luna. That's not Bitcoin. It's not like Bitcoin randomly, the maximum supply became 50 million or 40 million. No, that's not the case. Maximum supply was still 21 million at that time. It's still 21 million as of right now. So again, it's like nothing bad happened to it. And again, people sold it just because Terra Luna was crashing in some cases. Yeah, that was just something I was like, wow. But even besides that, when I take a look at something like Turbo, I totally understand why a lot of people want to leave, because they view this as, oh man, it has no future. But I'm not leaving. I'm still dollar cost averaging into this, and I still believe in it. And keep in mind, back in early September, right, when a lot of people were kind of iffy on Turbo, then had that very big pump, and everyone kept saying, wow, why didn't we buy Turbo in early September? Oh my goodness, all this type of stuff, this sucks. But then now the prices are way lower than what they were back in early September of last year. Of course, I'm talking about 2024. But now suddenly a lot of them, they're scared. They're like, oh yeah, we don't like it. But the way to take a look at it is that if, let's say, I felt like early September prices were really good, and then now it's lower than that, why would I give up? I'm still going to be dollar cost averaging. Anytime an income I'm acquiring, I'm holding and just waiting. I'm not saying I'm going to go all in, by the way. I'm not saying that, hey, I'm just going to dump all in as of right now. No, I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is just consistently putting more. I treat this like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me. I'm just constantly accumulating and just waiting for better days ahead. And 50 cents during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And again, 500,000 Turbo, I don't see why that's too bad for me. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.